Hey, what is up guys? It's your boy Speed here, and today I promised a video 2 days ago, but basically I've been saying that I wanted to talk about Terrorblade support. And you might be thinking, Speed, why in the world would you make a video about Terrorblade support? And I can already expect the comments of the really angry players who think that I'm griefing your pubs. But the reality is, Terrorblade support is good. Now, is it good if you haven't played the hero before? No. So I will say you gotta give it a little bit of time, but without further ado, let's talk about why Terrorblade is actually a good support now, why this build is super legit, and we're gonna be following 9class, who has won 4 out of 5 matches recently on the hero. Yes, all as support. So if you think this is a fluke, well, this player is top 5 in Europe. He's over 12,000 MMR, and he's won 80% of his Terrorblade support games. So yeah, I don't know how you guys would respond to that, but I think it's pretty impressive. Alright, before we get into the main part of the video, I do want to let you guys know that I'm not only posting videos here on YouTube, I also frequently post videos on the website. If you don't know what I'm talking about, almost every single day I'm posting a new video to the GameLeap website. We're going to teach you guys in depth about how to get to the next level. So if you want to become absolutely broken, click the link down below and sign up. In terms of starting items, you're going to start off with a ton of stats, and this is one of the benefits to Terrorblade recently. The hero gained 2 strength in the recent patch and 2-second cooldown off on reflection. So basically his Q is quite a bit more spammable and the hero trades a lot more effectively. Also, due to the fact that Terrorblade naturally has good stats at pretty high movement speed, this is obviously nighttime movement speed, but naturally high movement speed, extremely high armor, pretty decent base damage, and then now with decent strength, you trade better than a lot of heroes used to. And basically the main power of this hero is that most heroes just can't man up to you, and Blood Grenade slow stacks with reflection slow. So if anyone gets caught out of position, they can just die. For instance, Slarkman's up here, and he looks fine, right? It doesn't look that bad, but with a Blood Grenade and a reflection, yeah, he actually just dies, and that's first blood. From there, the next thing that you do in the laning stage is really easy. Every time you can get a 2-man reflection, you click reflection. This ability tends to do about 100 damage to the people you cast it on. Of course, it depends. It's much more effective against ranged heroes because ranged heroes don't block any of the damage from reflection. So yeah, this hero and this ability in the early game is really good against ranged heroes. Then from there, what 9class does is he seemingly tries to avoid the enemy position 5, right? You can see he's actively looking to trade with Slark here and actually pushes the Slark towards the Batrider, getting another 2-man reflection. From there, he actually kites out the Slark and hits him on the way out, right? You can see it's really good kiting and using the movement speed slow, the 15% slow from reflection, to get an extra hit off on the Slark. Now I'm sure to no one's surprise, Terrorblade hits a real timing at level 2. If you don't understand the hero or you haven't played it before, basically you click Metamorphosis, and when you do that, you get a couple of things. You become a ranged hero, you have better base attack time, it's 1.5 seconds, and then you get a bonus 30 damage. So you go from hitting for 61 to hitting for 91 with better attack speed. And so yeah, you just absolutely annihilate people. Like this Slark attempts to man up to him, and it just doesn't work. Like, honestly, I think he even could have manned up earlier on the Terrorblade. But yeah, sort of baits the Slark in, forces out of pounds, and you just destroy them. Essentially, you want to look to dive and all in on the meta timing, so the best time to use it is when the enemy is committing, right? If they've used some sort of mobility, if they've committed their stun, if CM used Frostbite, when these things end, that's when you want to pop meta, pop reflection, and then really look to all in the opponent. Now, using his first blood gold, he got a really early urn, and this urn actually pays off big time, and you can see why this guy's rank 5. He adapts to the situation better than most players would. Using the first blood, he bought urn, which he doesn't do in every game, but I think in this lane he knows with this Weaver, especially against a weak laner like Slark, you're gonna get some kills, and they ended up getting the kill on the Slark, who unfortunately died to neutrals, but it still gives you urn charges, and with that urn charge, he can easily push the bat out of lane. One reflection plus a few autos and an urn actually drops this Batrider to extremely low HP. And yeah, now the lane is just an absolute disaster because when the next reflection comes up, he's going to be able to do the exact same thing and Batrider will have to leave the lane. And this ends up playing out in a pretty funny way. He goes to contest the pole camp and Slark makes a good play to run at him. He's definitely out of position here. But yeah, you'll notice that, I mean, I don't think most people would expect him to kill the Batrider, but yeah, he actually does. The reflection plus the urn does a lot of damage. Like, it just does a lot of damage. This reflection ability is extremely powerful, right? It does 70% of the damage of the target, right? It also slows the enemy's attack speed, which is something to keep in mind, right? So when you activate this ability on a Slark and he tries to man up, he's going to hit you much slower. One of the cool aspects of Terrorblade as a support as well is you can play the hero as a vision hero. There's 2 ways you can do that. You can summon illusions and send them into dark areas, or a reflection cool enough is actually very effective at scouting, right? It can be used in tree lines or to scout out Roche Pit. And at this clip, 10 minutes in, he reads that the Huskar is actually roaching. I don't know how. Maybe they saw him on this ward, but it's pretty crazy. He uses the reflection to scout him out in the pit, And with an urn and a couple of autos, he doesn't get hit by the inner fire, and they kill the Huskar, right? Really big play. And then from there, your hero just naturally mans up well. That's kind of how Terrorblade support works. You're generally a carry hero, and with level 2 Metamorphosis, I mean, he's hitting for 130 at this point. I think the next clip is pretty cool as well. Also keep in mind his neutral item is Duelist Glove, so actually looking to fight, right? Not taking any sort of the stat items or the regen items, just strictly looking to actually deal damage with Metamorphosis in the team fights. But here he's messing with the Timbersaw a bit, but he's able to turn it around with Sunder, and it actually ends up leading into a Timbersaw kill, so I thought this was pretty cool, right? Sort of baiting them in. This game was very AFK, right? His cores are like Weaver, Meepo, OD. Like, there's nothing to do in this game. But that's kind of the nice thing about Terrorblade support. You can farm eventually when you have illusions. And also, as he gets Dove here, he gets the Sunder off onto Timbersaw. And that actually allows him to walk this off, right? With an urn charge, he even gets the Timbersaw really low, clips the guy with another reflection, doesn't die to the ulti there. And yeah, the Timber doesn't die immediately, but he actually makes the foolish decision to stick around and try to snipe the Terrorblade. And yeah, he gets scouted out and dies in a moment from now. I think he turns the corner and Meepo finds him. Yeah, and they get him. Now, as the game progresses on a bit, we're going to look at minute 17 here. He's going to get blessed with Pupil's Gift in a moment. But what I like about heroes like Terrorblade is that they can farm. I actually think a big part about becoming a good support player, guys, is learning when to farm and when to push in waves. And Terrorblade is one of the best heroes in the game at doing that because, of course, he can do it with illusions. He doesn't have to actually put himself on the line. So he ends up sending the illusions past the tower here, which generally doesn't work. Typically, they'll get sniped. But this one sort of stays alive. It can kill off the range creep and do a good amount of damage to the wave, right? These illusions are very, very tanky. Now, considering you're rushing Vessel so that you can kill people with the Reflection plus Vessel and be tanky in the early game, that's why you want the Vessel. You know, these illusions won't cook. Eventually you can buy treads so that they do, but generally they're not going to do a ton of damage. However, they will static the wave, right, so that this wave then pushes into the tower. It's going to do a bit of tower damage, it will die so that no one can farm it, and then on top of that, he can take the wave when it pushes into him, right? And so you can just scale. Like, that's the nice thing. In games like this, or in games where your team isn't doing anything, have something to do. And that's why I really believe one of the most popular support players in the world right now, Sneyking, loves playing a lot of the heroes that he does. You'll notice that the majority of supports that guy plays can farm. And I think it's a big part of his mantra to play farming supports, right? That farming on support is a good thing to do. It's a good play style because a lot of the time the game slows down. And if you're playing certain supports, you just can't take advantage of that, like the Banes of the world. And it doesn't feel good. It's the drawback of those types of heroes. And now, of course, at this point in the game, when you click meta, you're going to be pretty strong. As I mentioned, he has Pupil's Gift, Wand, he's got the Fluffy Hat building a Force Staff, and he's going to hit pretty hard from the backline, right? This hero just naturally does quite a lot of damage, and when the Slark runs in here, with the help of the Meepo and a bit of damage from the Terrorblade, he can get to work. I think maybe he could have sundered his Chen there, but it's generally a good idea just to save your defensive Sunder to save one of your teammates, and that's something you should stay on the lookout for as well. Also, in terms of skilling, at this point, he's leaving meta at level 3. I think it's good to leave meta at level 2 or level 3. Either one's fine. They're pretty similar. This ability doesn't scale that well. It scales like okay at best. Where illusions scale not insanely well, but they scale with items, right? So you kind of want to have it maxed out when you start getting like the Treads and the Dragonlance, and that's what he's going to be buying next. Because you hit hard. Like, the reality of Terrorblade as a hero is because, you know, his kit is illusions, which essentially give you a 60% damage amp and then 60 bonus damage when you have this maxed out. You're just going to hit hard, right? Even with just Treads, like just Treads Dragonlance, you hit hard. And so, like, in this team fight, as he goes in, he's going to pop his Reflection, going to look for an eventual Sunder. You can see he's looking for it on the Bat Rider here. It's a kind of a psychotic play, I'm not going to lie, but it sort of baits the Huskar in, right? So the Huskar's all inning a Terrorblade, and like, usually Huskar would feel okay about this. You're trading your life for the safe laner, but that's not the case with this Terrorblade. He's just baiting. So he gets the Bat Rider low with the Sunder, gets the Huskar to waste his BKB on him, because he's very tanky, right? 1800 health. With a Sunder is going to be more like, you know, not double that, because you're obviously not Sundering back your entire HP pool, but it's pretty damn good. Also, something that's pretty cool is if you get your shard from the Tormentor, or if you buy it, he does both. I think in half his games he bought it, and in half his games he got it from the Tormentor. But if you don't know what Terrorblade Shard is, when you activate it, it's a 60-second cooldown. It lasts for 30 seconds, so it lasts for a long time. It costs you 20% of your health, so it does hurt you, but then it gives you 100 attack speed, 100 movement speed, and it doesn't work in Metamorphosis. So basically, if you click meta, it will remove the buff. So what you use this for is farming around the map, right? Because that's when you don't care about sacking your health, and that's when you don't need meta. And he uses this just to make the illusions very powerful, right? Because the illusions get it if they're close to you. And also, when you're just naturally farming, you just farm really, really fast, right? Without a lot of net worth. And so this item, this shard, is a great way to get your net worth up, to soak up a lot of the open space on the map that supports typically have access to, because, you know, people think that you don't, but you generally do, right? And now he picks up his Pike. After that, he queues up the Manta. I think there's a lot of items you can go at this point. You can go Manta if you just want to continue to split push. It's also obviously a pretty good DPS item on this hero. You can go Sanjin Yasha just so you're even tankier. You have some stats resist so you can get off your Sunder. Or you could just go natural utility items. I really don't think it's a terrible idea just to go Glimmer Cape so you don't get bursted to magic damage, because you have such good armor at this point that a little bit of magic resist goes a long way. So I think there's a lot of angles you can go on this hero. He's going obviously the more split pushy DPS route, but I think it's totally okay to be slightly more utility because of the fact that Reflection is just a good spell in teamfights, and so is Sunder. Alright, and finally, we get to end the video off on a pretty cool clip where he axes the bait and uses Sunder to save a teammate. And this is just, once again, another reality of the hero in the late game. You know, when you have these really valuable cores that, you know, your team basically revolves around, saving them is the best play, well, almost any hero can make, right? If you're playing Oracle, you're going to ulti the Meepo, and that's going to be your impact. With Terrorblade, well, you're going to do the same thing. You're going to do a bit of damage as he drops Reflection. And Reflection, guys, at this point of the game, does some, like, insane amount of damage. The problem is it gets dispelled, right? So when Huskar BKBs, it goes away. Slark also Q gets rid of it, so that is something you have to keep in mind, but otherwise it will do a ton of damage. Try not to use it if they have dispels, you can hold on to it. But yeah, he waits on the side here. It's a pretty basic play. Maybe Batrider should have lassoed him so he couldn't do this, but a Sunder onto Mega Meepo gives this guy like 4k HP back, and unfortunately he does end up going down. I like that he pops his wand, pops his Spirit Vessel, really makes sure that he gets as much value as he can out of his life before going down, and that save on the Meepo ends up winning them the team fight. Meepo's able to split, get all of his damage out, and they win the fight. And so yeah, I really do believe that Terrorblade support is completely legit. I do think that this hero can have a slight weakness from minute like 8 to minute 15 where it's just not the strongest, but at the end of the day, if you get low on this hero and you sunder an enemy core, let's say a Centaur, or, you know, some Sven, some high HP hero, you're going to be nuking these guys for 1500, 1800 HP, and that's going to turn a team fight straight up. So this Sunder ability is insane. Reflection is a vision ability. Conjure Image allows you to farm out the map and scout people. Your hero is a good laner, has naturally good stats. They just buffed the heck out of the laning stage, making this hero one of the most reliable laners in the game. And then yeah, you can just scale naturally, right? When the game slows down, you can scale. Right, that's just how Terrorblade works as a hero, and as a support, it's no different. But right, thank you guys so much for watching. I know a lot of people are going to be very skeptical about something like this, but I just implore everyone to just keep their mind open. I think one of the beauties of Dota, and the reason why I personally love this game so much, is that you can do anything. And a lot of people are very afraid of these ideas. They're very afraid of things that are off the mold, that are off the beaten path. But, you know, Dota's changed a lot over the years, right? For instance, like even looking at something like Muerta support, right? Or Batrider support. You know, these heroes are just commonly regarded as support now. And you might say like, oh, it makes sense. They have like a stun. I mean, sure, right? You could say that, but there's a lot of supports that don't have stuns, but they're regarded as a support for a different reason. And they're still very valuable as a support. And I think Terrorblade in a lot of ways is no different. He has very valuable abilities that have a lot of impact with less net worth. And he's able to gain net worth at the same time. And you might be like, oh, but it's so greedy. Guys, just watch some Snake King gameplay. If you think being greedy as a support is a bad thing nowadays, I'm sorry, but you're sorely mistaken and you're missing out on a lot of opportunity to gain MMR. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you next one, and I'm out. Peace.
And that's all, but remember, before you leave, come on, before you tune out, subscribe to the Game Leap website where we are going to help you get to the next rank. If you're stuck, click the link down below, and I'm out. Peace.